What's going on, YouTube? So one of the most important vehicle segments in the US has long been the compact crossover segment, but it's also a very competitive segment.
That's why it's such a big deal that Kia is refreshing their bestseller, this 2026 Kia Sportage, and they're bringing a lot of new technology, new design, and features to the segment.
So, with an also refreshed 2026 CR-V coming to dealers soon, should you buy this Sportage instead? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's go ahead and get started under the hood with our spec dump. So this will continue to be available in 3 different powertrains: gas, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid. This is the traditional gas, which is available first. It's a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, making 187 horsepower. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and our combined fuel economy with all-wheel drive is 26 mpg.
Now, the base price for the Sportage is around $28,000 this year. And if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, later on in this review, we will be taking it out for a test drive. While we're on that drive, we'll get our sound level reading to see if they've done anything different for the refresh, as well as discussing resale and reliability at the end.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood, because you can probably already tell they've done some pretty significant work to the overall exterior look, and especially with some interior upgrades as well. So getting into those updates, you'll notice right off the bat up here in the front, we really have a more conventional look. So this is a very bold styled vehicle still, but it was really bold previously. I think Kia has dialed it down maybe 10-15%, especially up here in the front. Now, what are you going to get? Well, you're going to have the latest iteration of the Tiger Nose grille. There are 13 different trim levels of this vehicle for 2026 when you count the powertrain combinations and the different trim levels. So there's a lot of options, but there's a big division, which is really your X line and your X Pro. Those are going to be a little bit tougher looking. We actually have the X line today. That means down here in your lower fascia, this is going to be slightly more aggressive than what you get in the other trims. You'll notice we have the full gloss black finish as well through here, and the gloss black finish for our Kia logo. I think it looks really nice against this red paint color. Now, the lighting has also received a big upgrade. Now we're going for a stacked look that's kind of pushed out more to the side. It's going to be a projector LED for your low beam, actually as standard equipment, which is quite impressive. Reflector high beam unless you go for the top-end SX Prestige, which will just go ahead and make it all the high-end lighting. Nevertheless, you have the updated star map lighting element. So this is your daytime running light and turn signal indicator, finished in that nice amber color. Fog lights are also available on your top-end SX Prestige. And as we take a look at the back, I'd say the updates are more subtle than what you have in the front, but they are meaningful still.
Yeah, so what are those updates? Well, we have a spoiler up top, a hidden wiper underneath, but really most of your updates come in the lighting element. So we still have our Kia branding across the front, but Drew went ahead and hopped inside to show off the fact that we're now going to have standard LED taillights, and they're going to be full LED taillights regardless of what trim level you choose. Previously, you had to go to a high-end example to get the full LED. Now we're going to have the LED components, and it does also have an updated design, a little bit more modern with a clear taillight lens. Now your reverse light is down here in the bumper area, and speaking of down here in the bumper area, a lot of matte black plastic here. We also have a little bit of piano black. As far as your tow rating is concerned, it's up to 3,500 pounds with the gas models or 2,000 pounds with the hybrid.
And moving on to our wheels, you're going to have a lot of different designs from 17 to 19 inches in size, depending on which trim level you select. One of the cool things about this X line is that this is the most affordable trim level to give you 19-inch alloy wheels. And as you can see, they look quite nice. We've got the full gloss black finish. All the designs are new for 2026. So you've got that latest kind of squared off shape there in the center, which is becoming a signature Kia design element. Little bit of gloss black around the edges here for our wheel arches, matte black. And then in terms of the X Pro, that would give you all-terrain tires. Coming up here to our mirrors, you've got the gloss black finish again for the X line. If you choose all but the base model, that's going to give you blind spot monitoring and heating. You add power folding if you move up to the SX trim level.
Now here at the side of the Sportage, the overall vehicle length is 183.5 inches, which of course doesn't change this year. And as far as some of the design touches, of course all of our window surrounds are blacked out. We also have the blacked out raised roof rails. Those are standard on any of your X trim levels. And speaking of the X trim levels, if you go for an X Pro, you can actually get a two-tone roof option. Now, when it comes to your safety systems for the Sportage, I'm very happy to tell you that Kia is including every single one of those as standard equipment for 2026. The only caveat to that is that you will get highway drive assist as you move up the trim structure. But guys, there are arguably even bigger changes on the inside that we need to dive into. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move into the interior changes. First, we'll take a look at the key fob. Of course, this has the latest and greatest Kia key fob design. Your buttons are there on the side. All models will have smart entry, and most models also get the remote start system. Getting inside, you just press that button there. There's no sensor behind the handle, and that will unlock the door. Now, taking a look at the interior. If you've been in the pre-refresh model, you'll notice there's some pretty obvious changes right off the bat, and there's even more really as we dig into the interior. But before we get into all those individual details, of course we need to talk about the seats. So on your lowest trim levels, those will come standard with cloth seating. And then all the rest of your trim levels will come with a leatherette seat. There's going to be two different grades of that. X line is actually marking the beginning of what is known as the premium leatherette. So this is going to be a little bit higher quality, give you the better stitching designs. As you can see, we have the kind of nice looking quilting running through there. Various different interior color options as well, depending on which trim level you're specifically choosing. Now, if you choose anything except the very base LX, that's going to get you the 10-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. Our upper end examples will also give you memory seats. So let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, as I hop inside and close up the door, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. So over here on the door trim, we have a leatherette pad for your arm to rest on. There's leatherette through here as well, and this is going to be a soft touch plastic. Now, one of the unique details about the X line as well as the X Pro models, those have the faux wood trim decor. So you'll notice that that runs through the door trim as well as through the middle part of the dashboard. And then one of the things that I'm really happy to see for 2026 is that it also is down here on our center console area. Previously, this was a gloss black. Of course, that's going to be a bit of a fingerprint magnet and more prone to getting scratched up. Now we have this material which won't have any of those issues. And let's go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. And now that we're all fired up here, let's dig into some individual details of this interior. We'll dive in to our gauge cluster. First of all, as you can see, it's part of that kind of dual display arrangement. There's going to be actually two different versions. You get the full customizable digital display on your upper end examples. This one is the more basic version where you can just reconfigure the center section, but as you can see, the whole thing is still digital as well. One of the nice new things is that for the first time, they're now offering a head-up display on your fully loaded example. Also on your top end Prestige models, you're going to get the blind spot camera system. Now, as we take a look at the steering wheel, we've got the brand new design for the Kia brand. It's kind of an interesting look. So it's rather squared off, and then it's only two spokes. It's got a nice feel in the hand though with the thick rim. The logo is a little off center. That might bother some people. But the wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is available as well. Now we've got rain sensing wipers here on the X line, and let's turn over and take a look at interior storage. Obviously that's very important for this segment of vehicle. When I open up our center console, we've got some donuts inside. That's because, of course, here at Car Confections, we like to do the donut test, check the volume, and we can compare to rivals. In this case, we've got 9 donuts inside. So, you know, something like a CRV is certainly going to be more versatile in terms of your storage space, but there's other areas that you can stick things in here, such as our multi-function storage cubby, which doubles as our cup holders when you press that button. We also have a ventilated wireless phone charging pad up here. That's going to be included on most models, and you've got a couple USB ports. As you pull back to the shifter, the gas models will continue with the traditional T shifter. Just pull back for drive, bump over here to the left if you want to shift manually. There are no paddle shifters on the steering wheel. When I go into reverse, you'll be greeted with our standard backup camera. This version is just the regular one with active trajectory. You can get a 360 camera option, but again, that's going to require your top-end models. And then you also have an electronic parking brake. Back behind that, you've got a variety of different buttons related to your parking sensors and your brake hold system. And then off to this side, you'll notice a series of buttons. You've got your 3-stage heated seats. These are included on all but the base LX. Actually, for 2026, you can even option them on to the LX all-wheel drive for the first time if you don't want a lot of options, but you just want those. Below that would be your ventilated seats. That's reserved for just your Prestige models, and then that would be the button for your heated steering wheel. Next up, we have the climate controls. This is the dual zone setup that's on most trim levels, and you've got the multi-function panel here, so it will continue to be both your climate and your audio controls, depending on which one of those buttons you pick. Simply adjust that temperature right through there. And then let me go in and flip it over to the audio, and we'll talk about the audio systems. So standard 6-speaker sound system, or you also have an 8-speaker Harman Kardon sound system on your top examples. We actually, since this is mid-level, just have the 6-speaker sound system, but let's give it a sample right now. Overall sound quality is certainly not bad for the price point, but as we always say, if you're a big audiophile, definitely look for those trims that give you the Harman Kardon. Alright, so let's dive into the main infotainment system. So this is a 12.3-inch display. It is standard on every single trim level for 2026. Now this does have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay ability. However, what's most important is when I click there and I take you into the infotainment software, we've now been upgraded to the latest CCNC. So this is a brand new system for the Kia brand, and it just performs a lot better than the previous version. It makes pairing your phone super fast. All the menus and stuff load very, very quickly. And compared to certain rivals like the CRV, it's definitely a good step up in terms of giving you that extra screen real estate as standard equipment, whereas that model has mostly smaller displays. As we look up top here, we've got the manual dimming mirror. And then I will slide back the sunshade on the panoramic sunroof. So this is included on SX and X Pro and Prestige versions of the model as standard equipment. However, we do have it in an optional premium package here on the X line.
And now let's check out the very important rear seat area for this Kia Sportage. Now, this vehicle has some very stiff competition. Things like the Honda CR-V are incredibly spacious, and the Kia Sportage, thankfully, is as well. So we're looking at 41.3 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom. Those are very good space figures. It's not exactly class-leading. However, it is a ton of room. And that's one of the reasons that we bring along the official Car Confections ruler, because we want to give you the real-world feel. So this seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". I'm 5'9" for reference, and look at that. We are sitting at 9.5 inches of additional knee room. That's really fantastic. My feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat as well. And these seats have the ability to recline a very good distance. And by the way, these seats are really, really comfortable back here. Very plush. You still have that same design. And then if we fold down the center armrest, we have 2 cup holders inside. As far as other features, Vents are going to be standard equipment on the vast majority of Sportage models. We have another little storage cubby down here, and then USB-C ports integrated into both the seat backs. And you also have the kind of unique coat hanger design here on the Sportage as well. Now, if you look over at the door trim, it is going to be a little cheaper than the front, though. So we have a hardtouch upper part, some more of that faux wood trim, though, so I kind of like that. Leatherette all through the center section, leatherette in the armrest, and then we have a little bit of storage as well. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that heated rear seats will continue to not be offered on this model. Now, walking up to the tailgate, if you choose an EX trim or above, that will give you the hands-free power tailgate. We do have it optionally here on this X line, though. And then let's talk about the overall cargo capacity, because once more, I think you're going to be pretty pleasantly surprised with this. 39.6 cubic feet behind the second row of seats, 74.1 cubic feet with those seats folded down. Those are very good space figures. It's bigger than something like a Toyota RAV4. It is still a little bit shy of the class-leading Honda CR-V, though. And by the way, if you want to know how the Sportage ranks against all of its competition, there are numerous options in this segment. We'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because we have looked at all of these compact SUVs. We've ranked them in a chart, and in the chart, you can actually select specific categories that matter more or less to you, such as cargo capacity, technology, storage solutions, reliability, resale value, as well as driving experience, powertrain choices. All of those things are detailed for you on our website. So we definitely recommend you go there and check that out and make an informed buying decision, because this segment is a lot of options. You want to know all of your choices. Now, it's back to the Sportage. The seats do fold 60-40 split. One of the things I'm really grateful for is that we have handles to fold the seats from the cargo area. Most in the segment, honestly, don't include that. And then when we have those seats folded down, it's time for us to get our cargo length, width, and height figures. This is a Car Confections review, after all. Overall cargo length is coming in at 75 inches behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. That's quite good. Behind the second row, 40 inches of length. Overall opening is sitting about 41 inches. And then overall height, 31 inches tall, that's also pretty good. If we lift up the floor, there is a spare tire. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the refreshed 2026 Kia Sportage. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our official sound level reading for this refreshed model. But first, we need to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration. That takes us to 60 miles per hour with the 2026 Sportage. So, like we were talking about with the spec dump, this continues to be available with 3 different powertrain choices. So you really can pick whatever suits your lifestyle the best. This is the traditional gas-powered option, or the ICE option. It's a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. You have 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you're talking about how this shakes up against the competition, that is going to be on the lower side against some of the rivals, but not too deficient compared to them. And overall acceleration is fine for most people. However, when we're talking about power figures as well as efficiency, both those hybrid options are going to be able to provide you quite a bit more. Yeah, that's for sure. Like Drew said, the gas powertrain will be fine for most people. However, at least for me, I think the hybrid is a great choice, not only for increased efficiency, but also for the bump in power. It is a significant bump in power. And they've actually made that even better for 2026. So both the hybrid and plug-in hybrid have a little bit more horsepower. Yeah, so the hybrid is a 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder. Like Drew said, they have kind of tweaked the electric motors and set up to give it 4 more horsepower for the 2026 refresh model. So all told, we're sitting at 231 horsepower this year. So you can do the math on that. That's over 40 horsepower more when you choose the hybrid, and that's not even factoring in the fact that you have the electric torque off the line that really really pushes you back in your seat. I think it's a very substantial difference for most people, so at least in my personal opinion, I would definitely take the hybrid. It is worth noting that the hybrid, though, will be a little bit later availability for the 2026 model, so do keep that in mind. And then as far as the plug-in hybrid model, that has 268 horsepower and a 13.8 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, which is up 7 horsepower over last year.
Now, as far as the transmissions are concerned, we've got an 8-speed automatic transmission with this traditional gas-powered model. Actually, both the hybrids still have an automatic transmission. It just has a 6-speed automatic instead of the 8-speed automatic. And that is a big benefit, or continues to be a big benefit to a lot of people over top of some of the rivals. They often have CVTs across the lineup, or at least with the hybrid models. This has the traditional automatic for that more traditional feel, so you're not going to hear any types of droning or anything, even when you accelerate hard.
Speaking of hearing, let's just go ahead and get our sound level rating. I went ahead and toggled this to fan speed 1, and we'll speed up to 55 miles per hour. 55.2 decibels is what we have settled in at for the sound level reading on this refreshed Kia Sportage. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other vehicles in the segment, as well as the pre-refresh model. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And as far as how that compares to the other numerous options in this segment, that is going to be a really good sound level reading. It places in one of the best models that we test out in this segment, that's for sure. Compared to the pre-refresh model, we actually tested out a 25 Kia Sportage. It's a little bit louder. However, I think a lot of that is due to the fact that we have some weather blowing in, so there's quite a lot of wind going on today. So a very, very quiet cabin is what you can expect out of this model. And just cruising down the highway here, I think it's a good time to talk about overall ride quality for the Kia Sportage. Now, this is an area that really we don't expect any changes for the refresh, and Kia certainly didn't need to change much. This was a very comfortable riding vehicle pre-refresh, and it continues to be in 2026 as well. I find these front seats to be quite comfortable, even as you hit decent road intrusions and just kind of some different textures. It doesn't let too much of that into the cabin, even despite us having the larger 19-inch alloy wheels. So overall, I'm very happy with the ride quality of this model. And let's discuss overall fuel economy as well. So for 2026, actually, we don't have the official ratings for the entire lineup, but we can tell you this 2026 all-wheel drive X-Line, because we can read the window sticker, that comes in at 2430.26 miles per gallon combined. That actually represents a 1 mpg increase for this refresh model, so I'm not exactly sure what the reason is for that. Most likely just EPA testing differences, considering the powertrain is the same. But overall, that's a pretty decent fuel economy for this segment. It is going to be less than some of those other rivals, though. If you want the best fuel economy, of course, get the hybrid version. That will get you that, or the plug-in hybrid variant.
It does have auto start stop. Pretty smooth. You can turn it off, of course, if you don't like it as well.
Yeah, and as far as how the power is routed to the ground, I do want to mention this really quick. Of course, you have standard front-wheel drive. Your X trims will give you a standard all-wheel drive on the gas front. Hybrids will also have all-wheel drive on most of the models. You can actually get one version with front-wheel drive, though, to kind of boost your fuel economy.
And you know what time it is? It's time for the slam dunk and the airball. So I'll start off with the slam dunk. That's going to be broadly the 2026 changes. I think they really listened to customer feedback, and they tweaked things that really benefited the vehicle overall in terms of making it even more competitive with equipment and value, but also things like the design, kind of toning it down just a little bit to make it less controversial compared against, some of the more bland options.
Yeah. On the airball side of things, one thing that we wish they had changed, which they did not, is this climate panel, the dual function climate panel. Now, some of you all might have different opinions on this, but at least in my experience, we've had several of them, for extensive amounts of times, and I really haven't gotten used to it. I like designated areas for my volume controls as well as my climate controls. And yes, I appreciate it's a physical knob, but I don't want to have to sit there and glance and think, oh, is it on the temperature or is it on the audio every time I go to reach for the knob? It kind of defeats the purpose of it being a knob because it's hard for me to see while I'm driving. So I wish they had kind of switched that around, and I am definitely a bigger fan of what Hyundai has done with the Tucson instead. And now let's discuss pricing. So when it comes to this area, we actually are very early on getting this review, so Kia has not released official 2026 pricing for the entire lineup. However, we do know at least this trim level, and if we get that information before this video is posted, hopefully we can add it to a text box so you can see the full pricing. But as you can see, we have the 2026 Sportage X-Line all-wheel drive. This trim level at least starts at $32,990. That means it's about $900 more expensive for the 2026 model year, so I'd expect a similar price increase across all the other trim levels. We have the optional package plus $180 for the carpeted floor mats. $1395 destination. We're sitting at $36,065 as tested today. Now, if you're looking to buy a Kia Sportage or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/new car quotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation and can help you get that best deal. We even have a monthly payment tool that you can check out as well. So once more, you can find that in our video description, and there's a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Kia Sportage's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 49.02% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 21.1%. Now, it is worth noting that is right at the industry average for all vehicle brands. However, especially if you're looking to compare it to things like the Honda CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, those are going to be much higher, about 64 to 65% resale value, so that is definitely something to keep in mind.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Kia is rated with our updated 2025 data above the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, reliability information, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, lastly, I do want to conclude with your warranty. That is a very good one, a 5-year, 60,000 mile basic warranty. You do also get 10 years and 100,000 miles of powertrain coverage. Kia does not do complimentary maintenance, though. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed watching one of the very first detailed reviews of the refreshed 2026 Kia Sportage. If you found this review helpful, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and we do strive to get the earliest possible reviews for you all. This is a very early video for the Sportage. Now, if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.